So we started as a talent assessment company. We're very big in talent assessment. We offer 41 different products. We do studies for the NFL and other big organizations, and we primarily service small and mid-sized businesses, so companies under 250 employees, and we offer just a host of different tools there. And that has been kind of our bread and butter, is teaching people how to build that pool, figure out who's good, and then train and onboard them. As I was telling Kiana earlier, we run these coaching and development programs for some of our clients, from our larger clients, the ones that are like, 500 to 5,000 employees. And we're charging $20,000 consulting fees in order to help them implement a fact-driven hiring system. And when I looked at this, at AI for the first time, I use it like many small business owners. I was like, well, like we use it for marketing and this and that. And I played around these tools and I was like, I don't know. I didn't really get it. I didn't really see the appeal here. And a coach friend of mine who leverages our platform, he works with small construction companies. He's got about 300 clients on our platform here. And he's like, dude, this guy's 72. And he's like, you got to check this stuff out, right? He's like, AI is going to change the world. There's going to be a new job class. They're going to be called chat technicians. This is going to completely revolutionize hiring for small businesses. And I was like, well, okay, I kind of see it. I kind of get it. And, I'm not sure if I'm totally sold yet, right? So like many good ideas, I'm in the shower and I was thinking about this problem, the fact-driven hiring system. If anybody's read, any top grading fans out there? Any Lou Adler fans out there? So these are some of my mentors and my inspirations for best hiring. And so you read these books, and the first top grading book was like 350 pages, and it was the most boring thing you could ever read. Now, very good, but brutal to consume, right? There's a lot of things you got to do right. And so we, reimagined that, and we have, took our own spin on some of these best practices that have been around for a long time. And so we came up with this fact-driven hiring system, and there's about 40 different things you got to do correctly in order to get hiring right. Now, that's an overwhelming number of things for any business, large or small. And a lot of it is content driven. A lot of it's recruitment marketing, it's candidate scorecards, it's training and onboarding, it's follow-up, it's becoming really good at interviewing, your interview questions, the type of interview questions. I mean, there's just a plethora of things that you got to do. And imagine creating all those things from scratch. It's a huge burden, right? And who has the time for these things? I don't care if you're an HR person for a Fortune 500 company, you don't have the time for it, let alone being a small business owner trying to manage HR and hiring and do all these things yourself, right? So I started thinking about the fact-driven hiring system, and it dawned on me, I was like, wow, well, I can just go through each step of the fact-driven hiring system, and I can say, hey, create me a job description. Boom, done. Create me a job advertisement. By the way, there's a distinct difference between a job description and a job advertisement. They have two completely different roles in the hiring process. Who's going to write both? Nobody does. They just write boring job descriptions. They post them on the ad. I was very impressed with Kiana's, though. It was very good. She did a great job on hers. It was definitely not boring. But many people, we just put this boring job description up and we hope people will apply for our jobs. That's not really the ideal protocol. So I just started going through this, and within 30 minutes, I had a client, CPA firm I was working with at the moment, at that exact time, that started thinking about this, and I just built out everything for him, and I did it in like 30 minutes. And I was just blown away, and I read through it, and it was like 90%, 95% spot on. So is it perfect? No, I'm not here to tell you AI is absolutely perfect, but I will say, and excuse my French, it's the smartest fucking intern you're ever going to hire. It literally is that good. Anybody hire interns here before? I've hired a lot of interns. I've hired interns from Princeton, from some of the best schools in the country. And when you give them a task, at best, I get like 50% of what I hoped out of them. Who has to complete the other 50% of that task? Kiana, you're in law, you've had some interns, how good are they at doing a task they've never done before?
We actually don't work with interns.
No. Maybe you were an intern for a law firm at one point, right?
Well, I was the exception.
Yeah. So if you add experienced intern, look, they're great, but okay, they do a task 50% right. Somebody else got to pick up the ball and do the rest of the task, right? So this is the best analogy I can give you what AI is going to do for us in hiring. Okay, we're going to jump into it. So Kiana has, maybe tell us just a little bit of background. You're kind of a small, mid-sized family law practice in the Bay Area.
Sure. So I'm the founder and one of the owners of Marathi Saz Law. We are a full service family law firm doing divorce, custody, all of those types of transitional issues for clients. And we're based in the Bay Area, and we have offices in Los Angeles and Orange County. So I am in need of a chief operating officer. Right now, I'm really doing a lot of different roles at the firm. And it's time, we're growing. It's time for someone to really take over operations and get us to the next level. So I placed this ad out, and I'm happy to walk you through my process if you'd like on what I did.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'd love to hear. So you think about this, you got to hire this role, right? You're like, okay, Epiphany, I'm going to hire this role. What did you do to get this ad posted?
So this is a very important role at my firm because they're taking over many of my responsibilities. So I was a lot more comprehensive than I might be for an attorney role, because I really wanted to start out from a place of success. So I spent a lot of time first writing down every single detail that I want this person to do, which is not in the ad. That was just my preparation on my end for the ad. Then I have an HR consultant. So she did the first draft of the ad. So I paid her for that. I know she went and looked at various LinkedIn ads and then put together, I know she spent a few hours, and then she put together what she thought was it was a very good first draft. Yeah. Like you said, 50%. And then I went ahead and I then took what she did and spent another few hours myself really fine tuning it to what I really wanted this person to bring to the table, and also really fine tuning what we bring to the table so that it's a good mutual fit. I looked at a lot of LinkedIn ads, and I also, just went through my own drafting as well.
Yeah, that is exactly the process that our hiring coaches do with their clients who come to us early in this process and they say, I got to hire somebody. We would do something very similar, and we would coach you through that. And so you're obviously an incredibly smart person, and you really thought through this, and you did everything perfectly right. But that sounds like a lot of work, right? I mean, you put
it was a lot of work,
a lot of effort, and paid money to consultants and things like that to get this done. So I'm going to show you what we did with ChatGPT. I didn't know anything about you. All I knew is the name of your company and that you were hiring a chief operating officer. So all I did was I go to ChatGPT and I gave it this prompt. My prompt is like a little bit everywhere. Now I pulled this out because these are, top grading things. These are Lou Adler things. These are best practices that we teach our clients, that when you create a job description, that it's really important to include these OKRs, KPIs. What are the measurable expectations for somebody in the role beyond just the list of duties and responsibilities, right? So I just threw some of my own best practices in here, and in about 5 seconds, it created this. What do you think, Kiana?
I think it's a really good start.
Yeah.
Like you said, I would still need to go in and edit it, but I think it's an exceptional first start.
Yeah. So, all that kind of research you did, and I'm not say you should omit that. For the type of role and the seriousness of your situation, you probably still want to do some of that, compare that, but this gets you a running head start, right, at that project. If you have a lower level role, or even an attorney role, probably it's more of a standard, that's a pretty standard role. If you're a family law practice attorney, we could that it might be amazing what it would do there on a role like that. It'd probably be like 95% on. And we created some other ideas. Now, these numbers I wouldn't, necessarily use as gospel, but it came up with these, and that's a starting point, right? And this is probably some things that you're thinking about when you're hiring a CEO, no? You'd like to move some of these metrics, right?
I'm not saying, I don't know about these particular metrics, but in general, yes, the CEO is going to be, we're looking for someone who is going to achieve agreed upon metrics. I don't think that these metrics are very applicable to us personally, but I like the idea of they are responsible for the metrics.
So I could go in and I could plop in, just say the metrics that I wanted, and it would formulate at least this framework for me that I could then use to optimize it, right? So whatever those kind of top metrics would be for that role. So that would be kind of a cool thing. So that would be something I would do in an edit here. We got a lot to cover, so let's put a pin in that part, and we can come back to it and show you how we do it. I don't want to mess up my whole little chat thing here, but here's some qualifications that it came up with on its own. And, fairly similar to, some of the ones that I think you came up with as well, right?
Yes.
And I don't know, Kiana's ad is here. I don't know if you want me to share your original ad, but we can share that too and look at what
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I got it up here on LinkedIn. Hopefully it's still.
Oh no, it's not on LinkedIn. It's not on LinkedIn. It's
Well, this was.
No, it's not on LinkedIn.
Oh,
It was, I had a
different
draft up on LinkedIn.
Oh, you had a draft, yeah. I think I got that draft somewhere. Maybe. Oh, here it is. Let me see.
I'm still on the draft stage.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's something on LinkedIn, so I don't know how that got there, but
it was open for a second and then I closed it. It's still in draft mode.
Yeah. So here was kind of your original draft, right? That you came up with. And this was kind of a hybrid ad job description, right? And we can look at that. And I notice you're an EOS person. We're going to talk about that later. So anybody who's not an EOS person, we're going to learn a little bit about that today as well. And I love how you throw your core values in here. This is definitely a best practice in your job ads. So you can get it kind of a side-by-side comparison. So, okay, this is what I would consider the first draft here is more of a proper job description, sort of on the boring side of things. So the next thing I want to do in this process is I want to transform this into a compelling advertisement now, because now I need to attract my ideal person. And so there are two different things. So what I did is I asked ChatGPT, and I've got level 4 now. So I pay the $20 a month, definitely worth every penny. And let's see here. So I put in this prompt here. So I asked it to transform, I use slang as opposed to the full wording, into a compelling advertisement, make the ideal candidate super excited to apply. And then I just grabbed content from your website, your About Us page, and just copy pasted it, plopped it right in here. So one of the cool things, so our latest product we launched about a year ago, discovered full hiring, talent acquisition, find people, attract people, talent assessments, figure out who's good, and then training and onboarding platform. The exciting thing about this is all of this is going to be integrated in the coming months here into the system where you're literally going to press a button and say, I'm hiring a CEO, and it's going to create all of this and set up your entire platform, and you'll be live posting ads tomorrow or today in the seconds. For now, our hiring coaches are helping our clients do this stuff, but that's the exciting part for us. So as a technology firm who's helping people get closer to automating hiring. Now, I never thought I'd ever say that you could automate hiring, but I think we're getting 10 steps closer to that process. And we can debate about that down the road here, have a conversation in Q&A if you like about the reality of whether we could ever automate hiring or not. But we're going to be able to definitely get a whole lot closer to it by integrating AI into our platform. And so that's an exciting thing. In the meantime, our hiring coaches work with their clients on this, and they get them through this, and they don't do it for $20,000 a year or $20,000 consulting programs. They do it for $300 a month. So you take what used to cost 20 grand down to 300 bucks a month. So I gave this prompt. I just pulled some content. I pulled your core values as well. I think I threw those in here. So we'll skip through that part here. And this is the advertisement it came up with. And we'll skip through that part. Again, few seconds, boom, we're done, right? Mm-hmm. So I didn't love it. And I asked it to rewrite with the responsibilities and the core values. Oh, and I added to add in the responsibilities and core values. So I made a gaffe in my prompt here. And so I went back through it, and all it did was just add in those key responsibilities for us and qualifications, so that we are at least telling people what we expect, so they're not bamboozled when we hire them. So we'll skip through that part here. So here's the thing that nobody ever does, and Kiana, you probably never would have spent the time to do this, and please use these, but here are 10 unique social media posts. So now you can just copy paste, put a social media post to promote your awesome job, right? And then you can tag the other people in your firm, and they could share it, and they can share it with their networks. And you can put this in Facebook if you want as well. I'm a LinkedIn and Facebook guy, but if you're a TikTok person, you can do the same thing, or a Twitter person. But here are 10 social media posts. This is going to allow you to organically promote your job on social media. All you got to do is add a link to your job posting. And I could have fed it the link too. I didn't have one for you. I could have just said, hey, make sure you put this link in there. You ready to start organically promoting your job, Kiana?
I'm in the drafting phase. The next thing I needed to work on was figuring out comp.
Okay, I'm going to get to that here in a sec. So I'm going to show you how I would do a comp analysis for your role and walk you through that and through that journey. And I'll give everybody some suggestions on how you can do some comp analysis and go through that journey to kind of figure it out. And that is a tricky one, but it'll be interesting to see how ChatGPT handles that. And so and I'll show you how I use ChatGPT to navigate through that, plus some other tools and tactics that I use outside of AI to help with that, right? All right, so now I got this fantastic social media marketing campaign. It's ready to go, copy paste, start promoting it. Well, the other reason why this is important, and I did this backwards. Usually I do this first, but I create the employee referral program. So the number one source of the best hires is through referrals. I think probably we all know that. I mean, Kiana, how many people work on your team that are a referral from somebody you knew in the past, you worked with in the past, or maybe somebody who works for you who brought in somebody else they worked in the past on your team?
Oh, at least half. And it's
Yeah.
been, I would say, you're absolutely right. It's the number one way of getting great quality employees in.
Yeah. There's some massive studies. They say like 87% of the people that come in from referrals are rated as like the top hires that hiring managers make, right? Something like that. It's also the cheapest, even if you have an incentive program. I mean, they're hiring attorneys. I mean, if you paid them 10 grand for a referral, it's probably worth every penny of it. But most, $500 or just a pizza party or a high five, thank you, I mean, goes a long ways to your employee referral program working. But the problem is you got to create content, right? You got to give them something to share with their friends and family, right? And a good way of doing that is just through some emails. So here are some emails that you can send out. I didn't like where I was going, so I tweaked my prompt again, and I came up with some emails here. Actually, I don't like that one either. I came up with better ones. Let's see, I'll get down further. And I got mad at it here in a sec. You'll see. Oh yeah, this one I liked. I said keep writing. So here are some emails that you can send to everybody on your team that they could basically just forward to their friends and family promoting your job. So I'm making it really easy, for you to promote it and to get the word out to your existing network, and for them to make it really easy for them to get it out to their existing network, right? The best kind of organic marketing you could ever do, right? Kiana, go ahead.
Yeah, no, we have an incentive system just for the reason that you're talking about. The best referrals are coming from inside of our company.
Yeah, and I could have added that to the prompt and said, hey, promote this or that. But actually I wanted to make this so that if this landed in one of your attorney's inbox, that they could just forward it without changing it. Because, right, I need to make it so easy for them. Like if I have to make them rewrite this or change it or tweak it, they may, even if it's a small thing, they might not do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I could do that. I could create some other content around that to promote the incentive side of it, the whole 9 yards. I could have done. But now here we go. Boom! I can launch this employee referral program both on social media and through kind of direct email reminders. And I got 4 emails, so they're teed up, so I can send one every week. Keep it front of mind, top of mind. Because, I might have been busy when I first got this email, but next week I see it again and Kiana's reminding me again, oh, I better, let me better think about it. And I'm going to really, send this out to some people now. Right. The worst employee referral programs is when the boss stands up and says, hey, we're hiring for this new role. If you know anybody, could you please tell them? And then they never say anything about it again. Right. That's when the employee referral program falls flat on its face and we don't get the results that we were hoping for. So this makes it easy for me to do that follow-up and that continued reminders in a friendly way, right? So this is super cool. Let's think about it this way too. I mean, Kiana, if you went out and hired a headhunter to do this and go find you this person, how much do you think you'd pay them to do that?
I mean, they usually charge 25% minimum.
Yeah. So, a lot of money.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands of dollars to pay someone to do this. And
they always tailor clients like to you. So you're not getting an unbiased referral.
Yeah. When you pay a recruiter, I got some friends in the legal recruiting space. I mean, they're collecting $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 commissions on placing partner level attorneys or attorneys, right? They're incentivized to get you to hire the person. They don't really care whether it's good or not, right? I want that $100,000 check, right? Like I don't have necessarily anybody's best interest in mind other than mine in that case, right? Not a big fan of recruiters, if you haven't told. And by the way, I own a recruiting firm, so shoot me. So look, Kiana, if you follow these best practices, and I've done this with friends of mine. And so I'm an EO, entrepreneurs organization. Anybody EO people out there, Vistage, YPO people. And so sometimes my friends in EO will come to me and say, hey, I need to hire this position. I had a friend of mine come to me and he's in the food brokerage business. And he's like, I need to hire a new sales rep in NorCal. And I said, just go to LinkedIn. What did I do? So I did this. I said, go to LinkedIn and write. Let's see. Okay, well, we'll get to this part. So I was like, I wrote it up later in the thread here, but I said, go write, just write nice little note and just use LinkedIn Sales Navigator, create a list of all your competitors, and then go through their employee roster and find all of their top performing salespeople and just do a soft connection request with them. Not a direct solicitation. Don't be like, go, hi, I'm your competitor. I'm interested in hiring somebody just like you. Would you have a conversation? No, more or less soft, like, hey, I'm in the same business as you. Love to just network with other, thought leaders in this space. You'd love to have a virtual coffee with you. Dude, Nick hired the #1 sales guy from his competitor in under a month. I saved him $40,000. In recruiting fees. He came to me, he wanted to pay me $40,000 to recruit for him. I was like, no, dude, no. You're stud. This guy's a stud. He's all over LinkedIn. I was like, just do this. And and he hired the guy in under a month, right? Top sales guy from his competitor, right? So let's talk about comp. This is your big question, right? So I came up with this prompt, right? And I said, well, is it 9 attorneys roughly? Is that about ballpark?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just went and looked at your website and I stole all this information off there. So ChatGPT comes back and as most of you guys know or kind of looked at this, it stops at September 2021. I said, okay, fine, fair enough, touche. I asked you a question that's probably not in your ballpark, but let's see. This is some things to think about. So give me some really good kind of, way to kind of begin to think about how I'm going to do my comp analysis right here. And so it comes up with some numbers, right? And at least gives me a ballpark here, right? And so I said, well, fine. It came up with a number, right? And then I said, fine. Well, let's just take some known facts here. And I might be a little off. I don't know, it was 8 or 9 or 10%, but factor in inflation in 2022 was something like 8 or 9%. And we're still tracking 6 or 7%. And then there's another interesting fact here for everybody here, but people who change jobs on average get a 15% pay increase versus people who stay where they're at, they're hovering more in like the 4 to 6% pay increase range. But that's just a little fun fact. But I threw that in there and I said, hey, could you make a prediction for me? And it did that. And it came up with a range like this. Now, the old way of doing this, and for anybody who wants to do this seriously, and again, this is also difficult because the data is, even this data is behind. This is the most up-to-date, most comprehensive database that's free. And this is run by academics, but at onetonline.org, on it, you can drop that in the chat. You can go ahead and drop a link to people who want to go through this exercise with us one-on-one. We are only going to have probably time to do this with Kiana. You can drop a link to get a free trial of our Discovered Performance Hiring platform in there. But this is gold right here. If you're not going to go pay for a really expensive comp analysis, like Kiana's probably not going to do in a 9-person attorney firm, you're not a Fortune 500 company. Academics are out there surveying the marketplace across almost every conceivable job that you can think about. And they're picking up the phone, they're calling people and say, hey, you're a CEO or COO, whatever, how much you get paid? Where do you live, right? And they're coming up with this data, and here is where you're at, right? So this is for the United States. And then in many job functions, it's going to come to a very specific one here. So you're in the San Francisco Bay Area, and you got a tough one, Kiana, frankly. Usually I get a more definitive answer, even from ONET, but you're at 208 plus, which means it's 208 to like $1 million. I'm sorry to tell you, but no, you're probably, ChatGPT's guess is probably in the ballpark. You're probably in this range here. Now, okay, so you're going to say, well, that's sort of helpful. And so here's my next recommendation. I mean, look, I've interviewed over 10,000 job candidates. In most states and most places, you got to put a comp range in there. It's really increasingly, it's by law. You've got to tell people what your range is. I'm not a huge fan of what some of these, you see these people, they do these like, from 100,000 to 500,000 ranges. Like, okay, let's not go that crazy, but we could, maybe we go like 150 to 200 or something, decent size range, but it's in the ballpark. DOE, depending on experience, right? Or what you do to not do the 1 to 500,000, you break that job down into like 4 different tiers, like level 1, level 2, level 3, or, associate, junior, senior, partner, whatever. Then you run ads for 4 different jobs instead of 1 different job, and you can narrow your pay bands in there. So that's the more ethical way, I think, to do it. If somebody inadvertently applies for the higher level one, and you say, well, you're really more eligible for the level 2 level of this, and that pays X. And again, I think you're really handling that in an ethical way. So that's one way to deal with the pay band issue, and to deal with pay transparency, and to be able to practice it yourself and do that. And again, I could create 4 different levels of this role if I wanted to, using ChatGPT in minutes. instead of hours and having to rewrite the same ad. And the reason why people put the band between 100 and 500,000, why do you think they do it, Kiana?
Well, because I mean, they're targeting every type of person with lots of different types of experiences without really narrowing down what they truly need before they place the ad.
Yeah, because it'd take them like 4 hours to do to really create 4 or 5 different buckets, right? And they don't want to do it. They don't have time for it, right? You know, the poor HR people at Netflix are drowning in work, and that's why they run ads like this, right? You know.
Now,
So
does
it's
this
a human thing?
ask the question? Does this show? Is this all COOs, or
Yeah.
have we narrowed it to in the small law firm? I'm assuming that's not a variable.
No, yeah, it's a little too narrow for this. So that's a great question. I wanted to get to that actually. So if you're in a field like Kiana, you're in the legal field, right? There's going to be some great industry comp analysis for you. So I'd go to your industry associations. I'm sure you're part of several, probably, right? And I'd reach out to your rep or search through their website, and they're going to have them for you.
Okay.
So that's how you might be able to narrow this down. So you're getting information. Now, you told me that you went to Glassdoor and you looked at it, and Glassdoor's fine too. That's another data point here. And so the last thing is, okay, I'm going to start with, after you do this research here, and you're going to pick a number, a range, probably at this point soon, you're going to pick a range. And, you're probably going to go broad. I would go broad since I'm very inexperienced in this field and not 100% sure where I need to be. And there is a little variation. I might find, really high. I might have 2 buckets and I can't differentiate them as well as I'd like. But as you start to talk to candidates, just simply ask them, what do you want to be paid? Do your own comp analysis. And that is the key question, folks. What would you like to be paid, candidate? Because what they think they're worth is what matters. If you pay them $1 less than what they think they're worth, you're asking for trouble already. It's our job as employers to decide whether they're worth what they want to be paid, right? Now, again, it's way better if you have a smart analysis and you're in the target range, because the other thing that doing a comp analysis is really smart for, Kiana, is being in the middle. So if you're in the median, your average, and I see this a lot with small businesses, they say, well, we offer a competitive pay wage. And really what they mean is we offer average. What does average really mean? Means 50% of the people are paying more than you. Is that competitive? If you're in the middle, are you competitive? If you're a pro athlete and you're pro golfer, I'm a big golfer or golf fan. I'm a terrible golfer, big golf fan. But if there's 200 golfers on the tour and you're 100th out of 200, you're not the top. You're not competitive relative to your peers. You're average. So if you really want to hire a rock star and you say, I want to be competitive to hire a rock star, you might want to start thinking about paying up in this range, right? Or adjust your expectations on who you're going to get. I mean, that's perfectly okay. There's A players in every pay band, but don't over expect an average comp to get you Aaron Rodgers, it's going to get you more like, Baker Mayfield or somebody like that. So what questions did that spawn for you? And, what did you learn from that? I guess, Kiana, I know this was a big question for you.
Yeah, I mean, this is really helpful. This is definitely good start. And I think it's, it's the data. It's great to have the data lined up a little bit.
Yeah. So theoretically, spend a little bit of time, we're hopefully, not just 50%, but closer to our end goal of being ready to market this job and start collecting candidates. And now I need to start interviewing and evaluating them, right? Did you create an interview guide for this or scorecard?
Not yet.
So any good hiring coach would say you need to have a candidate scorecard, right? So what criteria, and so you talk about DEI, it's a big topic, and posting this, there's a lot of concerns about DEI around AI. I'm not here to talk about that today. It's a whole nother subject, but when we talk about DEI, getting your comp analysis right, that's really important to solving those problems. But number two is objectively evaluating candidates, reducing the bias. We have bias as human beings naturally. It's just impossible for us to not, but how do we reduce it and become more fair for people who are not like us? And having a candidate scorecard is the number one thing you can do, as long as you don't make your candidate scorecard bias. A little asterisk there. So let's create a candidate scorecard. So this helps you hone in on the qualities and attributes that you're looking for, and so that you're evaluating your candidates on those things, not on whether they like the NFL, like obviously I'm a big fan of, and that ought to make me biased against women, by the way, because I'm a huge sports fan. And if I find out that, you know, Kiana's a huge sports fan, then I'm immediately going to like her a little bit more. And, you know, if she doesn't, like many women don't, then now I have a bias, right? So I'm going to try to minimize that by focusing on the things that really matter. So I went in and said, so considering all this information, you know, tell me what I want. And then I asked it to give me 3 interview questions to help me evaluate the qualities related to the job, the scorecard that it came up with. So here we go. So it came up with scorecard item number 1. So I might rephrase this honestly to say proven track record in strategic planning and execution, right? I want to see somebody who's got experience in doing this. And then here's 3 interview questions to help me evaluate that quality. And I could ask for 5 or 10 or however many interview questions I wanted. How are these items? I mean, these are pretty close to probably some of the things that you had on your responsibilities list, right?
These are great. I would love to see more tailored questions if possible. I don't know if ChatGPT has the features for that yet. This is a lot of going through the ad and saying, describe a time when when you did this, which is great, a good starting point. But if there were more probing questions, I would love that.
Oh. So you said more specific. So could you provide more small law firm specific type questions to help me be more precise in my evaluation of a candidate? Can you also offer some probing questions to help me dig deeper after the candidate gives me a first? Something like that? Or what else more specifically would you like to know?
More, that is exactly what I wanted. Just more probing questions, just one level deeper, something that they may not expect to be asked right away.
I have some really good ones for that. By the way, the first interview question I ask anybody, Kiana, and some people hate me for this. So, once they get through the pleasantries, oh, what are you doing now? Tell me about the role you're at currently. Awesome. The first interview question I ask any candidate, I say, after they get through that basic. So say they were CEO working for a competitor law firm, ABC Law, and they tell me about their role there. And I say, oh, great, awesome. If we, take the next step in the process, or I say, oh, great, that's awesome. Who was your supervisor? And they'll say, Jane Doe. Awesome. What was Jane Doe's role? Well, she was the managing partner. Oh, awesome. So credibility check. if we got to the next step in the process, would Jane hop on the phone with me for 5 minutes and talk about the time that she spent working with you? It's a yes or no question, by the way. Anything other than an emphatic yes is a problem. And then I get to say, so let's just, hopefully they say yes, they say no, I'm already concerned. Because if the person doesn't leave a trail of really happy people behind them, you got a problem. So remember earlier we talked about the best hires come from employee referrals? What do you think of references from a past supervisor? It's a manufactured referral from somebody who's credible. So then I could say, well, what should I expect Jane to say about you and the time you spent working together? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would she rate your overall performance? An 8, a 9? Oh, cool. What would she say you'd have to do? This is my favorite part of this, is a much better way of saying, what are your weaknesses? What would Jane say to me that you could have done to get from an 8 to a 9? Much more constructive way to explore that. Does that make sense? And guess what? When I talk to Jane, I ask her the same exact questions. But it helps me cut to the root of the matter before I spend a bunch of time with the candidate, right? Because if I go through the last 4 supervisors and no, can't get it, excuse, no, problem, that means the last 4 people this person worked for are unwilling to say nice things about them. I already know I got a problem on my hands, right? But here we go. How'd we do here?
I like it. It's with every question, we're going deeper and deeper.
And then for probing questions for everybody out there, and for you, Kiana, probing questions are as simple as, tell me more, who, why, what, when, and how. So they answer a question: in a small law firm, CEO plays a critical role in managing, mentoring staff. How have you fostered professional growth among your team members? You're going to get, if you got somebody good, they're going to give you a pretty decent answer, but it's still going to be fairly superficial. And then you could ask maybe these questions. Could you share me an example of how you helped an employee grow their role and advance their career? And whatever they say, you'd say, oh, that's interesting. Could you tell me a little more about how you did that? Or, what challenge did you roll? That's a what question, right? Or how did you do that exactly? Could you walk me through the step-by-step, the evolution of that? Or why was that important? So if you just master what I call the art of being curious, and the art of being curious is just simply mastering a basic communication style of just being curious and asking follow-up questions to anything anybody ever says to you, to ask for clarity, because it's all about reducing assumptions. Again, remember, we are human beings. We are inherently biased, right? Somebody says something to us and we process it through the lens of everything that we've known for our entire lives, right? And if you can, and this ain't easy to do, it takes a lot of practice, but if you just mentally practice and think about this, and you try to stop yourself, and you say, hey, something you said there wasn't totally clear to me. You don't say it like that, but you think in your head, that wasn't totally clear to me. You say, hey, you mentioned X, Y, or Z. Could you tell me a little more about that? Or how'd you do that? Or why was that important? That's how you dig deeper. That makes sense? And these are some fantastic probing questions. Okay. I don't know. I hope you guys are having fun. I'm having a blast. How are you doing, Kiana?
Great. This is super useful. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. By the way, if you're CEO working professional services, Kiana's looking for a COO. Give you a plug. You want a plug? Call her, reach out to us, find her, DM her in the chat. So the last thing is, I'm having too much fun here. I will go through this a little bit quickly, I think. Let's see, where am I at here? Here's the cold LinkedIn connection requests templates for you. And I'll send you a link to this. So I use this tool called Share Chat GPT. So I got a link to this, and Kiana, later I'll send this to you, and everything in here is right there. You can just copy and paste from there.
Great. Thank you.
So share ChatGPT is fantastic for sharing your threads with people. Really cool. It's free. It's a little Chrome extension. Just boom, click, share. So here's some ideas. Now, the only thing that this thing can't do for you, if you're going to do cold LinkedIn outreach, you just want to try to make it as personal as possible. And, this is decent. But, if you could pull out like, oh, you went to USC, I went to USC, go Trojans, something, I don't know, anything you can to build a personal connection with that person. But I asked it to be pretty soft. Like, I was like, don't blatantly solicit this person. Like, Kiana cannot blatantly solicit her, competitor COOs. They're going to be really mad at her, and they're a bunch of lawyers, might sue each other or something. I don't know. You're going to have to tiptoe into this if you want to use this technique. You're going to have to, be very gentle, right? So hopefully these messages are done in a pretty gentle way. I thought they were pretty good. Any thoughts?
You asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're great.
Yeah. Any questions about how to cold solicit people appropriately or effectively when you're be your own headhunter is what I call it?
What do you like to use? Do you use LinkedIn Navigator for that, or what's the best? What's the search feature that you like using?
I use LinkedIn Navigator unless you're a professional recruiter and they have a recruiter tool for that. But if you're, like you and any other small business, or, I go Sales Navigator, does the same exact thing. And as I talked about in the other example, I just pull your competitors. You know who your competitors are, right? If you really want to be laser targeted, hire somebody from your industry who's got the exact experience you're looking for. Start with your list of competitors, right? So you get the name of the companies who are going to have the people that you're looking for, right? And then you go through each company, and then you can layer in other searches like, give me the COOs or the salespeople or the, attorneys or whatever, role that you're looking for. And that'll then cull your search down to mostly the right people to be, it'll be like 70% good. And then you just go through each person and do this for 10 minutes a day. It's a 10-minute challenge for the next week. Just go to sales. Pay $100 a month. You can cancel at any time. $100 for Sales Navigator. Run your little search filters. Identify the people. Use one of these prompts. Find the person you want to reach out to. You'll probably reach out to like 3 or 4 or 5, 10 people a day in 10 minutes. Drop the little note in, and you'll get a couple of responses, most likely. I will bet anybody $100 if you do this challenge. If you spend, give me 15 minutes of your time a day, and you do this for 2 weeks, if you don't have a conversation with somebody who you're excited to talk to as a candidate, I will give you $100 and you will give me nothing. If you use this technique, you will start a conversation with somebody you are like, this person looks perfect. It works that well. And it has to come from you, the boss, not from your admin, not from your HR person. That's come from you. That's the secret. That make any questions about that strategy?
So in our case, most law firms, especially small ones like us, do not have COOs. No. We're a little bit ahead of the game because we try to operate our law firm like a business, because that's what it is. And so in that case, I would think the next strategy would be, since I don't really have competitors that do this, it would be really looking at probably mid-level, mid-sized law firms that are the ones that are starting to really adopt COOs for law firms. And so I think for me, that's the target I would probably do.
Yeah, exactly. So you pick, again, you pick the type of company or firm, in your case, that you want to go. And the beauty of the law world is there's lists and lists and lists of law firms. You can figure out your AmLaw 200, 100, whatever, top 5,000, whatever it is. And you can just find that list real quick. We could probably ask ChatGPT, although it'll be a year old, back to 2021, and we could just say, okay, here are all the people in the right range who are in San Francisco Bay Area, and that there's your starting list to throw into Sales Navigator, and then you just got to sort, throw some layers in to sort the job titles, and then you just got to sort through the people. And again, if you just, it's like a cup of coffee. If you spend 15 minutes a day, you're probably on the right, the right track, right?
And would you suggest doing this rather than posting an ad, or in addition to? Because one of the challenges with an ad is the inundation of the resumes.
So two sides. I do both. I mean, when I run this, so like I do working with a geotech firm in San Jose and they're in San Francisco. So there's literally only 40 qualified senior geotechnical engineers in the South Bay area. So these people are highly, highly, highly credentialed individuals, right? So we run everything. Everything we did here, we did all these things for the client. And they've got coffees with 4 people. 10% of the addressable market in their area, they've got coffee dates with. So you got to do it all. I mean, I mean, that's the best way to do it. But I would do the LinkedIn and I'd run ads. And if you don't already have an applicant tracking system, again, get the free trial Discovered, or click a call to meet with one of our hiring coaches. Literally, they're going to do all of this with you day one. You're going to be posting ads on every major job board, LinkedIn, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Monster, everywhere. They'll get you all this material together so you can do some of this stuff yourself. And, Kiana's got a tough one. She's hiring a COO in a law firm. I mean, like, these people aren't employed. They're probably not looking for jobs. Yeah, the headhunting approach is going to be a really helpful tool in that situation. But many of you will probably be able to just instantly, day one, you'll have 10 candidates. Now, the beauty of an applicant tracking system, it solves your problem, Kiana, of like, I got inundated with these people who are irrelevant. But you got to have a tool and a system that makes it easier. Like, you're asking people to email you resumes. Like, you're really going to go through your email box and open every resume and look at all these things? No, you got to have a tool that allows you to sort and sift through folks there. You got to have a career page. This is your career page we created for you in a couple seconds. I could show you my my pipeline of folks here. I get entry-level recruiters on the recruiting side of our business. We get about 1,000 candidates a month applying for this. It's a entry-level sales job, basically. And we just instantly, they apply. We ask them to complete assessments and provide references. We don't touch them otherwise, but I can just flip through my candidates and keep them organized, star rank them. Especially like a law firm, you're hiring attorneys and you're probably always looking for attorneys. You got to have something where you're constantly got a line in the water. You never know when the right attorney comes by, but you have to have an easy way to just manage it and sort through it and just to keep it organized. Because what happens is I end up with a pool, right? I got a bunch of 5-star people here. Well, maybe I don't hire them today, but now I've got a database of people to reach back out to down the road. Or if you're hiring low-level people, like, okay, I'm building my database of talent that I can just blast emails and text messages to them in bulk. So I can text 1,000 people at a time, say, hey, I got a new position. You want to reapply or re-interested, that kind of thing. So we offer these tools. They're a dime a dozen. You can go out there, you can find them elsewhere, but you got to have an applicant tracking system. If you're doing, I think about, to me, I'm biased, but if you're hiring more than like 2 or 3 people a year, you got to have an applicant tracking system. And they're not expensive, very low cost tools, and they just will make your life a million times easier, right? So we created an offer letter. We'll last a few seconds here, but I also created you an onboarding checklist. And this is more of a technical one, like paperwork and like tech and software tools. And, wasn't that specific, but these are things that you're probably like, oh yeah, I got a VPN. Oh, I got that. Oh, I got that. And you can be more specific, because nothing's worse than hiring somebody and they show up on day one and none of their tech is set up, right? But it's just like leaves the worst taste in a new hire's mouth, right? Like, you had 2 weeks to get ready for me and you've got nothing and you're scrambling, running around the office, and I'm just sitting here twiddling my thumbs, right? Use an onboarding checklist, right? And this gives you some really good ideas. These are just best practices that, again, I charge people $20,000 to develop this for. Done. Free. Do it yourself. Go spend $20 on ChatGPT 4. Don't want to do it yourself? Go call Anna. Get a call with her. She'll do it all for you. $300 a month. Super easy. And then I had them do an actual like training plan for them that include OKRs and KPIs. And I don't know, if I were hiring a CEO, this is definitely the first things I would do. So we're wrapping up. We're over time. I'm way too excited about this. Kiana, any final questions that I can answer for you?
No, this has been great. Thank you, Fletcher.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate you, putting yourself out there. It's kind of can be uncomfortable. You're putting all your laundry out there. We're going through your whole thing here, sharing with everybody what's going on in your world there. But it was very great pleasure, and it was a great challenge. You have the perfect, like, this one's a hard one. Let's do something hard today. I love challenges. We love challenges. So, bring us your hardest hiring challenge. I'd love to help you. Again, I've done this my entire life. It's all I think about, dream about. My wife tells me, you should stop talking about work and your dreams. I love this. So I'd love to help you. If you're interested, please, let's connect. And thank you for your time, everyone. And Kiana, thank you very much. And I'll send you a follow-up on this.
And for everybody who had questions, these are great questions that we'll want to be answering. If you can book a one-on-one call with us, that'd be great. We'll be able to answer them in more detail. Otherwise, we'll also try to send out some basic answers to some of the questions that I had listed here.
Yeah. We'll write a little newsletter to answer all the questions since we didn't have time for them. No. All right, guys. Thank you.